Ladies and gentlemen, a second episode of the week of Here's Why You're Wrong? What is this monstrosity? How we doing, everyone?
The season's getting ready to start, and you know what? We are active, and we are bringing the best content out of all of the podcasts that
We are.
universe.
And for the other podcast, podcast. It's a new show.
It's really a one-man
new
show with a guest host, right?
Yeah. He shows up every once in a while.
Calling it the JR show.
Yeah, the JR show, featuring Andrew in like small print, like
right there, like the bottom right-hand corner.
Bottom right-hand corner. But in all seriousness, some great content coming out on the YouTube and the Twitch platforms. So today we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna steal a page out of their book, something we wanted to do last year, but we got started too late in the season. But it is time for our preseason power rankings that we will be updating throughout the season. I am pumped. Are you pumped? And
I'm really pumped.
The thing I'm most pumped for is I made graphics.
Yes, you did. And really, that's your contribution to this endeavor.
Hey, I created a power ranking as well.
I mean, created. It's like, when you were in high school and, you woke up in the morning and you're like, oh no, that homework assignment, shit, that's due today. And so in homeroom, you're like quickly writing your essay.
No, I put a lot of thought into this. I even have notes.
Oh, wow. Aiden made notes.
I have multiple.
That is a first.
I have notes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first time in the entire history of Here's Why You're Wrong that Aiden did any level of preparation for what we do here at all.
No, yesterday. I did prep yesterday too.
Did you?
I did a little.
We did talk before the podcast started, so I guess that counts.
True. But no, this is the first one I've probably done full prep for the whole episode. So should we jump right into it?
Let's just jump right in. We got a deadline here.
Let's do it. Here we go. So this is what we like to call the bottom third. So the bottom third. I'm going to be on the left-hand side for this one. Brenden will be on the right. So we'll go both at our 30. Both of our 30 is Oakland. I think that one's pretty easy to decipher.
I think it's interesting because there's pretty much league-wide consensus on who the worst team in the league is right now.
Which is probably the first time in forever.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember that last year at all.
Oh, I don't think so. We move up to 29, and here's where the first discrepancy. Mind you, there's only like 4 or 5 that we're completely agreement on.
You know what? That's true, and there's probably going to be some disagreement, but I want to know why you put Rockies so low.
I think the Coors Field effect, in my opinion, is a big thing, and I also don't know what the team provides. I don't have enough faith in the team. I think the pitching staff isn't going to hold up, especially losing James in that closer role.
Well, let's be real. They haven't had James for 2 years. He was injured in 24, and then last year he would have been better off not pitching.
Fair enough. So, in my opinion, I just don't know that they have enough. I think they've made some interesting acquisitions, but I think especially in a loaded NL West, it's going to be hard for them to do anything. And the NL itself is pretty loaded, which you're going to play more often than you're going to play against the AL.
And I'll say this, and here's why you're wrong for putting them so low. Are the Rockies a good team? No, I have them at 24. But the Rockies are not that bottom feeder level team. Their offense is good, and their offense would be good outside of Coors. Their offense is good outside of Coors. But it's the pitching staff combined with how other teams are going to do when you get there tells me that they should be bad, but taking into account their offenses, they shouldn't be as bad as they are, at least compared to some of the other teams on this list. Like
in my opinion, there's an obvious 30. 25 to 29 is one group, and then 21 to 24 is another group.
That's fair.
So I think there's a lot of interchangement that can go, especially at these lower levels. As we get higher, there's harder interchangement to go. But we're both in consensus at 28 being the New York Yankees. And for any of you guys regular MLB watchers, this might be the oddest thing, but I know me as a real-life AL East fan, you as an AL East GM, not having to worry about the Yankees is one of the most satisfying things.
It takes so much pressure off my chest. I'm outspending the Yankees on my payroll this season.
That's insane.
The Baltimore Orioles are outspending the New York Yankees.
Let's move to 27, where you've got the Indians. We have a similar, like I said, sort of we're very similar in this area. Why
we both have pretty similar opinions on the Indians here. I'm not gonna nitpick over a difference between 26 and 27. And frankly, I'm not going to nitpick over much of a difference between 27 and 25 either for the Marlins.
I want to nitpick you. Why is Chicago at 26?
Because I feel like Chicago is a few good players and a weak team rather than a team with some young players that can have some potential. I don't think the roster as it stands is very strong. I think the team is set up for a lot of failure entering the year. They can change my mind. The whole point of power rankings is it's like a starting point, right? I'm starting them low. Go up from here.
Here's why you're wrong, and I'll say it straight up. Here's why you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong. Me on the Rockies. Here's why you're wrong. You on the White Sox. For a team that finished third in that division last year, I think that this team flies under the radar in what a lot of people call the Detroit Tigers division or the Royals being able to compete up at that level. I think that the White Sox, with the right moves at the deadline, and I feel like by staying put, like standing pat, not making too many big deals, they kept themselves intact. They don't have a lot of bad contracts. They have themselves in a really good spot for this year that I think you're looking at them as a potential number 2 in this division.
I'm gonna protest. I'm gonna protest what you just said right there, that they stood pat and that's a good thing. This is the same team that got within within 1 or 2 games of Detroit around the All-Star break. This team was good the first half, and this team imploded. This team imploded harder than any other team that we saw. It just didn't really register with everybody because they were already out of the division.
It was due to some injuries. It was due to some injuries.
It wasn't all injuries. This team was an overperformer. This team was an overperformer that did not get any better.
Hold on.
This team is a bad team.
Did they perform
that's have a bad
hold
record.
On. Hold on. Did they perform the way they were supposed to in the first half and then underperform in the second half, which is what I think happened? I think they are a better team than
this is the team that did the exact opposite of that. They overperformed the first half and then went back to the team they were in the second half.
I disagree. I think it's the other way around. I think they. All
right, you know what? Let's go look at the roster. Right. Let's go look at the roster. Who's your starting 5 rotation on this team? Like what team? What players would you say are starting? Dwight Kidda. Dwight Kidd is probably your ace right now.
Probably.
Dwight Kidd is pretty good. He had a good season last year. Johan Duran, he's average to slightly below average. Danny Martinez, a little bit over average based on performance. But then you have Omar Fernandez, Colton Bowman. Then you have a couple young guys who are still developing, and that's the rotation. They're an injury away from having no rotation, and it's not a good rotation to start off with.
But we can't assume injuries.
No, you can't, and that's why I'm saying they're not a good.
But I think if you look at my power rankings versus yours, I think the Chicago White Sox have a better rotation than if we're looking on your side. I think it's better than the Marlins, better than the Rockies, better than the Phillies.
Yeah, but I feel like other things make up for those teams.
That's fair.
First.
That's fair. All right, so we're sort of right in the same area on all that. Let's move over. This is the biggest probably discrepancy I think we have in this whole thing.
Yeah.
I put Minnesota at 24.
It's and you know what? And there's not a baseball reason for it.
No, there is.
There's not a baseball reason for it.
There is. I think hold on, can I?
You've got an agenda, and you've had an agenda here, and I think it's just your bit at this point. You kind of you pick on the Cardinals, right? So you just want to find an AL team you can also pick on. I think that's what it is.
So let me tell you why you're wrong. I look at Minnesota, and outside of LeBron Smith, I don't see much.
Oh boy!
With the trade of Royce Lewis, I don't see enough in that division. I already said they're probably going to finish bottom in that division. I gave them more credit by putting them above
Alex
Cleveland.
Kirilloff, dude.
Hold on, can I?
Not much else.
May I continue?
You may finish your bad point.
So, in my opinion, I believe that this team, until they prove to me otherwise, I don't believe in them. Their bullpen is straight garbage. Their bullpen is terrible. I mean, just straight terrible. And I think the rotation lacks a lot to be desired. And I also think that at the end of the day, Minnesota, I want them to prove to me that they can do something. I don't think you're wrong after looking into it more and more as I have. They could make some noise in that AL Central. But I think based on last year's performances, this is the right spot to put them because, like you said with the Chicago with some of the teams on the other side, they can rise up in the power rankings. Prove to me that you're better than where I'm putting you. Because right now, based on last season and based on what I see with your team, this is where I feel like you belong.
Okay, you know what? You make an eloquent argument there. I won't disagree.
Wait,
I think
did
it's
I
bullshit.
actually?
I think it's bullshit, but I think that your reasoning is solid.
Yeah. Let's both talk about. I want to talk about this team in the Pittsburgh Pirates that we both have just outside of the top 20, which a lot of people may say, "Whoa." Just
Well,
based on
Cody will especially because if you listen to him in the Discord, don't worry, everyone, he's winning the division next year. I
which
think
is outrageous. I'm just gonna say that right
it's
now.
like the third. It's like you know how like in politics there's party A, party B, and there's like a third party, and then there's usually like a fourth party who like thinks they can be the third party, and then there's like your neighbor Joe, who's running for governor, and
No,
you only
your
really
neighbor
know
Joe
he's
who's
running
running
for
for
governor
local
because
school board.
he put one sign up,
Yeah.
but he really believes he can win. He
Here's my
really
thing.
believes it.
Here's my thing with the Pirates. On paper, they look like a great team. Don't get me wrong. If you look at ratings, they look like a good team, right? At least offensively. I will give Cody some credit that when we were talking about CCP catchers the other day, we did
Yeah, we
not
forgot
mention
Andre Fleury.
Andre Fleury. So, Cody, that is our apologies. I will throw that out there today. And today in the Discord, me and Cody had a great discussion of the top 5 CCP catchers. We were in consensus of who's in the top 5. Where they rank in the top 5 is completely, different. But at the end of the day, I just think based on how star-studded that division is, Cody is basically, in my opinion, stayed pat, where all the other teams around him since he won the division have gotten so much better and elevated their talent.
I wouldn't even say he stood pat. He actively aided in making another team in his division much
in
better.
Cincinnati.
As it stands right now, he is a team that last year had a good pitching staff, and he moved one of his better pitchers to Detroit. He's a team that had a weak offense that traded away one of their best bats to Cincinnati. He's a team with a lot of young up-and-coming talent, and I think 2 years from now, we're talking about Murderer's Row, maybe. But this is the thing about this power rankings. It's not about what their moves for the future are going to be. It's about where they stand in the season right now. And I am generous putting them at 21. I very much see them falling.
I think 23 is probably right about right for them right now.
I think that Pittsburgh finishes the year competitive enough to not be embarrassed.
Yeah. Now, I want to note something interesting. You have Philly at 23, and here's where I'm going to jump to the next slide. I've got Philly at 20.
Yeah, Philadelphia
Again,
is
not much of a difference, and I think this might be slight of my NL East bias coming out. I'm honest about my biases. You know what I mean? I've never been one to shy away. I just think because and this is again, we don't exactly know what Hebrews can do with his team, that it's a little bit of a wild card to me at the moment. That I don't know where to put them, and they've still got Bryce Harper. I mean,
well, Bryce Harper is really good. Lots of teams have one or two really good bats. Last year the Phillies, I said it a lot during our show. They were aggressive mediocrity.
They're the poster boys for aggressive mediocrity.
They are so mediocre that they were good enough to be competitive, and that is not a formula for success. I feel like their additions this offseason were less. Let's find players who work for this team, and more. Let's spend as much money as we possibly can.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and I think you make a good point there. I want to talk about the discrepancy in the New York Mets here, and then we'll move on to. I want to talk a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds, and then obviously I'm sure you see my glaring thing towards the top there that you're going to want me to comment on.
Oh, I am going to ask you to explain yourself, not just to me, but to the public.
Yeah.
But first, the Mets. I think the Mets are the bubble on the bubble, so to speak. Like I called my 11 through 20 the teams on the bubble, right? I think that they are only included here in their starting point because of what they did last year. This is a team that had a terrible offense and did not get better. This is a team that had a great pitching staff, but some above average performances kind of elevated it. Yanfran Escalona, straight up awesome. Not everything outside of that worries me. I'm worried about the Mets. I want the Mets to be good. I really want them to be. I just don't know if they're going to be.
That's the same reason they're at 17 for me. Let's talk a little bit about this Cincinnati Reds squad. Some big additions. You weakened the division rival and made yourself better.
I kind of like. I
could JR? Can I ask you this question? And this is something I don't think we talked about. We talk about Milwaukee sort of being there as the third team in the NL Central, just as of where they stand, just standings wise. Could JR make a playoff push this year?
Yes, he can, and yes, he will. Reason I put the Reds above the Brewers, and I assume the same reason you did too, is power rankings are a momentum game, and I think that the Reds' momentum is climbing. They are a team that has young talent coming up. They are a team that is trying to get better, and then they make a big splash, bringing in Barrios, who I personally think is going to be the NL MVP winner next year. I mean, don't get me wrong, Danny Smith Jr. But I want to kind of move that off to the side and start talking about other candidates.
You see, for me, 20 through... So I'm going to go back a slide for a second. 39 through 25 for me. And then 24 through 20 is sort of all in a group. And then 17, 18, 19 are all together for me in a clump that I could have put any one of them in any sort of order.
Yeah, and now you need to explain your 16. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have the Diamondbacks much higher than you.
Hold on. Before we get there, I feel like I do a lot of explaining myself on this show.
Ask me to explain.
I need you to explain yourself on Houston because if I remember properly, in our AL West prediction or our prediction episode, you talked very highly of this Houston Astros team.
Did I?
You did.
I have them finishing fourth in the division.
You did, but you said they could finish as high as first in the division.
I did not say they could finish as high as first.
Yes, you did. We can go back and roll the tape.
We'll roll tape. I did not say they could finish as high as first. I don't think they can. I don't think that they're a bad team.
Then why are they at 17? Explain
because power rankings are a momentum game, and at this point in time, they are definitely outside of real contention and are a middling squad.
How are they middling? I need a little more than just 3 words out of you.
Okay, fair enough. So there's 2 angles to this. There's their roster angle and there's their division angle. Let's go to their division angle first. Angels, Mariners, Rangers. What did they do to keep up?
Did they need to do something to keep up?
Nothing. They did nothing.
Did they need
sat
to do
on their
something
hands
to keep
the
up?
entire offseason. You go.
Did they need to do something to keep up?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. This is sure they lost Sammy Isla, however the hell you say his last name. They lost him for the season, right? That's not what sunk this team last year. What sunk this team last year was average play around the team. Yeah, you're going to get the re-rate out of Yordan Alvarez, which should help massively. But is that enough to keep up?
But you look at the other pieces that they have around there. You've got one of the top CCP catchers in Grayson Rowan.
You'd probably, I would argue you have the
that's fair. You've got a lot of great pieces all around you. Kevin Prue, Ronnie Mauricio, Lourdes
you have a developing Mike Mueller, right? You have Byron Buxton, who is good. You have Mauricio, who had a decent season last year.
You got Galvin Lux. You got Yordan Alvarez, who's going to get.
I want you to stop looking at the ratings though, and look at stats. Look at their performances last year. There's a lot of bad performances.
I think like we were talking about, they underperformed last year. Where this next year they can perform back to where they need to perform based on their previous years.
You know what? I would argue differently. I think they had guys who overperformed last year.
And that's fine. So I guess now it's my turn to be put on the stand for tribe.
Hey, real quick. Can we advance just one slide? I want to see. Oh, it's not like you had them much better.
I had them 2 spots better. And I also have Arizona only 1 spot worse than you. So
yeah, I know.
I'll talk about my reasons on Arizona. Again, it comes back to what's in that division. And I think the Giants, Padres, and Dodgers are going to carve through Arizona. Mind you, the reason I have Aaron as high as I do, where I feel like I could have put her lower, is the fact that Aaron has proved to me time and time again, like the real life Tampa Bay Rays, she finds a way to win. And until she proves otherwise, I have to at least give her some credit.
I don't disparage the veteran addition she made in free agency. I think that was pretty smart. She rounded out the squad. I just combination of the team itself not being overwhelmingly impressive and the tough division she plays in tells me that this squad is just not going to be in good standing going into the year.
Should we move
now,
ahead?
I did say in the preseason predictions, the NL West is a division where any one of the top 4 teams in my mind could win, and that very much includes Arizona.
Should we move ahead to the next slide?
Yeah, let's go on to the next slide.
This is where our discrepancies start to come in.
Yeah, because where are your Braves at? They should be on the bubble, and you know they should be on the bubble. The only reason they're not on the bubble is pure bias on your part. Plus, what are you doing putting the Padres on the bubble? We agree on the Mariners. We roughly agree on the Giants, right? And, like, there's some discrepancy on the Red Sox, but I can see your argument because their pitching staff is,
Here's my thing. I will tell you, here's where they rank. 15 goes down with the 16, I think, and if I could do a diagram, I would. I think 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9 are all together in my book, and then there's a clear top 8.
Okay, I really do feel like there's a clear top 10, and that's why I sorted them into thirds. The way, like I sorted mine into thirds.
You see, I don't.
I don't. What in your mind justifies putting your team entering the season in the top 10?
I think the fact that a lot of my team, like we've talked about, and you've said this on here before, you've said it to me, you've said it in stream before in comments.
Yeah.
My team underperformed last year.
Agreed. So what in your mind says going into the season based on our prior knowledge says that?
The fact of the matter is how they're performing in spring training, which I know you have to take with a grain of salt. Okay. I also think the way they're bouncing back. I think also the way I look at this team, and obviously you can look at OSA ratings, and ratings don't mean everything, but I look at the improvements in the OSA style and in my head scout, what he sees. I think I've seen a large amount of improvements. I got rid of some dead weight that played last year who probably shouldn't have, and I revamped it with some good players that can really fill into those roles that need to. Plus, I didn't really lose too much big talent, and I added the reigning AL MVP.
You know what? Adding Alex Verdugo is why, in my mind, you jumped into the 13 spot rather than being a 16. I don't see any reason to justify you being a top 10 team. I can't see it. I don't agree with it.
I think my pitching staff's going to be widely improved from last year. We talked about it before this episode. I think Joe Musgrove coming in is a great signing, especially now with the injury to Mike Soroka. It's only 4 to 5 weeks. I think the fact of the matter is, as well, you add Verdugo to that lineup.
Well, there's no insult to being a team on the bubble. The teams on the bubble are those teams that can easily slide back into the top 10.
Look, I'm giving myself, and here's my thing, and here's where I'm going to tell you this, and I'll be straight up, and I'm straight up with the viewers as well. I feel like sometimes I overplace my team, but in this case right here, I think you're underplacing my team just to cause an argument.
I was absolutely not. I feel like this is an entirely fair assessment. I put you equal to the Mariners in my mind if it weren't for the fact that the Mariners have Rosario.
And that's why I said 14 through 9 for me is all together.
Okay.
That you could do a fair shuffle of them. Let's talk about a team in the I want to talk about the San Diego Padres and why I have them a little bit lower.
If I'm not mistaken, I have mine like 8, I think.
Let's take a look ahead.
I do.
8, yeah. So I think and this is strictly based off an injury. The Tatis injury to start the season is going to hurt their power ranking potential.
And you know what? We made these before Tatis was hurt. But here's the thing. Tatis is only going to miss 2 weeks of the regular season.
Isn't it 4?
He was injured for 4 weeks, but he was injured for 4 weeks when there were still 2 preseason weeks.
He was injured 4 to 6 weeks, I thought.
You know what? I have the file open. Let's check this. Tatis is hurt for 3 more weeks. There is a week left in spring training.
So he's going to miss the first 2 weeks. Mind you, I think Brenden and I both agree we're going to be updating these power rankings weekly.
That is real life weekly. We don't have the time or energy to devote to doing these power rankings.
No, real life weekly. So I think the Tatis injury for the first week hurts them. I also look ahead to schedule, and I think another reason I put the Braves a little higher is because my schedule, the first real life week that we're going to be here, is a little more favorable.
That's fair,
and that's what you look at.
Honestly, that's a fair argument. I hate giving you that credit, but that's a fair argument.
Yeah, I mean, it really is if you think of it. All right, let's move ahead to the World Series hopefuls, is what I called this.
So I want to comment on us both. In each of our own rankings, we put ourselves in the same spot.
That's funny. That's really funny.
And we also agree on the Dodgers. Like, I feel like the Dodgers, in my mind, the reason I put them at 10 is they are a team that is entering the top 10, like the contenders conversation.
They are contenders, not pretenders, in my mind.
Yes, they are officially entering that conversation this year.
I'm going to be interested to see what happens with them in an overall sense of, can they start out hot? Because that's what power rankings are, is based on how hot you start, how hard you are at the time. Yeah. Can they start out hot and continue to be hot with Blake Snell starting the season out?
Yeah, and again, I made my list before Blake Snell was injured. I just don't think that it's gonna affect too much. I feel like the team will still get a good jump out of the gate.
Yeah.
I want to ask you 2 questions here. Number 1, how do you feel about my Nationals being being 6th and outside the top 5?
I don't see how you can put the reigning World Series champions outside the top 5 when you're talking about momentum, and they have the most momentum going into the season.
I don't think they have the most momentum. They have the most momentum from last season.
Right, yes, which is
a part of it. There was a whole off season.
But I think how well they did, mind you, it's Winter League, and it doesn't have any effect really on the big league squad, but they did well in Winter League. I think, especially, we don't know at this point where Victor Robles is going to sign, but if he re-signs with that Nationals team,
here's the thing. I don't see them entering the season as a top 5 overall team. Now, in my top 5 includes 2 National League teams and 3 American League teams. They very much are a top 3 National League team, and they're a team that enters in my mind, enters the playoffs with a lot of noise. But I think
I can't in good conscience put the reigning World Series champion outside my top 5.
I felt guilty about it, but I feel like they used winning the World Series as almost like an excuse to not make any upgrades. Like, oh, I just won. Maybe I don't need to do anything.
Fair. That's fair.
And my second question: How the hell do you? Oh, sorry, Bunny. How the hell did you put me higher in your rankings than I put myself?
Because I think
don't write it down. I didn't do it.
I did, just in case. But I think I'm a little higher on you than you are, in the sense of that I think that 6, 7, and 8 could all sort of be mismatched around in a sense. I just think you're the best in the AL East, and you have the most talent for me in the AL East. And I think as well that you have the most pieces that can play well. And knowing your GM style, I also looked at schedule, and you come out in a pretty easy start to the season.
Yeah, Blue Jays and Yankees for the first week.
You start out easy.
Yeah, and I want to read for the public an excerpt from my article that will be like my rankings article, which will complement the episode that's whenever it comes out. Number 9, the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe 9 is too low to rank the defending AL champs. Or maybe it's too high to rank a team that lost the Cy Young runner-up and an AL MVP. What maybe gets forgotten is last year, each of the 2 finalists for those awards were Orioles. Ethan Knight won the Cy Young with Jim Reed as the runner-up, and Nick Spence finished tied in first-place votes with Verdugo for MVP. We still have Michael Busch, Buster Bluth, and Connor Siebel, which form a very strong core that is still intact. I already said Nick Spence earlier.
Yeah, sorry.
Perhaps we're not the same team that wrecked the American League in 2025, but we shouldn't be underestimated either.
I think you're a little bit underestimating yourself.
Oh, whoops. I forgot I can do that.
You can do
I
it
probably
too.
am underestimating myself, but I'll be honest with you. Set the bar low, exceed it.
Fair. Let's move on to number 5, where we agree.
We do completely agree here. I like
Deep
that.
in the heart of Texas.
Here's like I got a chance. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet. I've had a chance to watch the Insider Podcast AL predictions video. And JR is right. I don't see a clear superstar on Texas right now. Now, when Thurman is up and dominating the league with 80 steals as a catcher,
Because I can't call closer to Marcus Evans a superstar.
No, but you don't need a dominant superstar to be a dominant team. And this Texas Rangers team is dominant. Last year, I remember noting this when it was time for my playoff series and I was scouting them. They had 2 hitters that were above league average by OPS plus. Just 2. But that doesn't matter. This team is so well constructed and stayed together. This is going to be the same team that pushed the Angels to the brink last year. And I think that while the Angels came out on top, and I put Texas at 5 because the Angels came out on top, Texas, in my mind, is probably the most interesting team in my top 5.
I like it. I'd agree with that sentiment. And I know there's going to be a lot of hate, especially from our editor, who, for where I put his team versus where you
outside the
put
top 5, which, by the way,
the top 6 was all together for me. That I feel like 6, there was a team out, and in my opinion, that was the team out.
All right, we'll see how I feel about that here in a minute.
And that's going off. You want to talk about momentum? That's a momentum base.
That's fair. We'll see how I feel about the Cardinals here in a minute.
Let's talk about number 4. You've got the Tampa Bay Rays.
We don't have that much disagreement between our feelings on the Nationals.
No, but I couldn't keep them out of my top 5.
That's fair.
Talk to me about. We'll get to the Rays in a minute. I sort of want to skip over this slide because I know you're going to have some questions for me. Let's move on to number 3. We both have the Angels.
It's because I think we both feel the same way about the Angels. The Angels are great. In my mind, they're the class of the American League. In terms of what they've done the last couple of years, they're still a very, very strong roster. So they enter at 3. They sit at 3. But I think that I don't think that they are a team that I can call number 1 league wide.
I don't think so yet. Number 2. You got the Cubbies.
I do have the Cubbies.
I got the Rays.
Yeah. Honestly, it's fair to put the Rays there. It's fair to put the Rays here. I don't think that they're a better squad than the Angels, but I get it. I understand. They are amazing, and they will exact their revenge on us this year.
I feel the need, though, and I will say this. I almost feel like I kind of have to move the Rays down, and we'll see next week. How bad is that loss of Hader going to hurt them?
Not that bad.
You don't think so?
It's a closer. People overvalue relievers. Fair. That's my thinking. You know what? A star closer, whatever, fine. You can get just as good production out of someone making league minimum.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we should move on just to the number 1 slide and then have our debate.
Yeah, because my number 1 and number 2 tie together.
And my number 1 is, well.
And you know what? And here's what it really boils down to for me. These 2 teams will be the duel of the season. Watching these 2 teams go at it, because these 2 teams did over like the final 2 months of the season. Once Chicago kind of assumed their final form, adding Danny Smith Jr. The Cardinals have only gotten better. The Cardinals had an amazing pitching staff last year and an offense that underperformed. You take this underperforming offense and you have 2 choices. You either sit on your laurels and do nothing, like a lot of teams chose to do, or you go out and get a stud bat in Royce Lewis. And you clear a roster spot for your own CCP to take over at first base. I feel like the Cardinals this year are going to wreck shop.
They have to prove it to me. And I think the Cubs have them. Hold on. Can I let you speak? Shut it.
Oh, don't test your luck.
So, the Cubs have proven it. The Cubs have proved what they can do. And you talked about momentum this entire episode. The Cubs have the momentum in the NL Central right now. The Cardinals, for me, I feel like some of their offense overperformed, some of their offense underperformed. I need to see it full out. I need to see what this team can do. I'm not against putting them as my number one team or breaking them into the top 5, but right now, for me, the Cubs are just the better team on paper and results-wise. And I think also, based on the style that I like, I think the Cubs have a lot of really good things. And we saw one of their starters go down in spring training just in today's sim. And Jake doesn't even have to bat an eye because he's got someone there to replace him. The Cubs are so – and here's my big thing too that is really what it boiled down to in a sense. The Cubs' depth is so much greater than the Cardinals' depth.
You know what? That's definitely true. I would agree with that. And for me, you have to balance depth and ceiling, I think. When you want to talk about how good a team is, I feel like the Cardinals' ability to have a higher ceiling than the Cubs because their pitching is so good.
But this is not. Hold on, Brenden, and you ready? Here's why you're wrong. Okay, this is not a preseason prediction. This is a power rankings.
Agreed.
And the Cardinals are not the most powerful team in eMLB right now.
And I think they're at. That's the thing. They're at that ceiling. They're at that ceiling with the players they have.
They haven't done anything to prove to you that they're at that. Like I feel like here's my problem with your power rankings, okay? And I'll be straight up with you. Here's my problem with your power rankings. I think you went too much off your preseason predictions and not what's going on right now, what the schedule looks like for this first week versus where the team is at. That I feel like you too much went off your predictions, not enough off of where is this team at. Who do they have this first week and how strong of a team is?
Well, that's kind of the point. I based my preseason predictions based off of where I felt those teams were going into the season. This is a going into the season how I feel about these teams.
But you can't tell me. Hold on. You can't tell me that the Cardinals, with the fact of how, like,
I can't.
They didn't win the. You can't put a non-division winner over a division winner in the same division.
Cannon did.
You shouldn't have. It was wrong. It's flat out wrong. You're just straight up sucking Andrews.
Oh, okay. You know what? I've been too nice to Andrew, our editor, who does lots of amazing things for us.
I love you, Andrew.
That's me kissing Andrew's butt. This right here is me talking about a quality baseball team I am jealous of.
But it's not more quality than the Chicago Cubs.
I think they are. And I'll tell you, it comes down to the same thing it always comes down to with me. It's pitching. I do not trust the Cubs pitching one tiny bit. Their offense is killer. Their offense will mash. Their offense is the best talent-wise in the league. They might score 1,000 runs, but their pitching is not as good. And I feel like the more complete team, the more complete elite team in the league, the most complete good team in the league is the Cardinals.
And I think that you're just wrong. I think the fact of the matter is that until the Cardinals show me that they can beat the Cubs, they're not above them. The Cubs still own the Central. It's the Cubs' division to lose until they prove it otherwise. And the fact that you're putting someone who came in second place over the division winner from last year with you talking about momentum and everything like that, they went toe for toe in the offseason. And if you ask me...
They went toe for toe?
They went toe for toe with the fact Jake didn't have to make moves because he's got guys coming up through his system. You don't look at systems. All you look at is trades and free agency signings because that's all you give a crap about.
You know what? It's because it improves his team right now. I see.
So does the organization.
I see what his good players look. I see the prospects right now.
Let me take an opinion off my own team. Do you think Johnny Burnett is an upgrade over Christian Pache?
Absolutely.
A system upgrade.
Agreed. And I factor that into how I view your team.
He's also going to be a
rookie. And outside of Danny Smith Jr. and Kent Hrbek, most rookies don't come into the league and immediately dominate.
Antonio Alvarez,
but let's be real. Antonio Alvarez should have been a rookie the year before. You see his ratings. He was only kept in AAA due to I don't mean to insult Shamrock, an inattentive GM.
You're not wrong, but I mean, still, you also look.
Johnny Burnett is also not Antonio Alvarez. Johnny Burnett is very good, and I'm excited to see Johnny Burnett. I think Johnny Burnett has an outside shot at Rookie of the Year.
But I think
he's
what
not
the fact of the matter is, and you know what, I'm going to take this off the screen. We're gonna go back to our fine format here
Okay.
of just the two of us. I think what this shows is the two ways that we evaluate is that you and I evaluate squads, and I think what it shows is your just lack of attention and attentiveness, and all you care about is doubling down on points that are just flat out wrong.
Oh my God. I protest that remark.
Please enlighten me about what you see about these Cardinals, because for me, I obviously don't see it, and I could just be blind. And this is not a knock on Andrew. I think six to probably 4, 5, or 6 is the right spot to put him, but you can't put him above the Angels. You can't put him above the Rays right now. You can't put him above the Cubs.
Killer bullpen, solid rotation. Bats.
What's
I really
so
like.
killer about their bullpen?
All right, dude. Okay, you have out of the park up?
Of course I do.
I want you to just go take a look at Leclerc, Corey Neville.
Are you looking at the ratings, or what are you looking at?
Their performance last year. Linares.
Loisaga is going to be a
dominant.
They overperformed last year. Their bullpen overperformed last year. Hold on. Can I finish my damn sentence? They overperformed. Hold on. You are riding this horse right now. You are riding this horse of the St. Louis Cardinals, of a horse that doesn't even exist, a horse that's an outside race right now. The fact of the matter is that the St. Louis Cardinals, until they prove to me that they can do it, don't show me anything that the Cubs don't do. And I think when it comes October time, and we're talking in October, you're going to be kissing my butt for the fact that I picked the Cubs over the Cardinals when you're flat out wrong.
Let's make a bet on it.
No, we've been doing too much of that. I'm not.
Let's make a bet on it. If you're that confident, I'm going to be wrong.
What are we throwing
I'm that
down?
confident. I'm right.
What are you throwing down?
I don't know. I can't think of nothing.
We'll think of it and come back.
Tell you what. We will come back. We will come around to this on our next podcast. We will announce an official bet.
That's fine. I'm okay with that, because
we can't bet money.
Yes, this is
we got broke college kid over there. That's not a disparaging statement.
It's the truth. College is expensive these days. It's not like back in the day when it was cheap to go to college. It's freaking expensive these days, right? Dude. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But I think what the fact of the matter is this just shows the disparity of talent in our league. The fact that we can have this argument about who's the number one team, and
agreed.
I'm just happy I kept myself from getting Char Bunny this episode.
And you know what? I committed my one. I probably won't commit another. It was thought out. It was planned.
It was malicious. It was straight up malicious.
Yeah.
You know what?
Damn it, Charles.
I still think, and I think, okay, who do you think? Let's play this. You want to go to the hot seat? Should we go to the hot seat?
I don't have questions prepared, so absolutely.
We're gonna go to the hot seat because that's what we do best here. I'll put you on the hot seat first because I've got questions.
Okay, good.
Who's going to be the biggest riser in your power rankings?
Who's the biggest riser right now?
Over the season. Who is going to be the lowest right now that's going to finish the highest?
Oof. As much as it pains me to say it, because I don't want to give any kind of credit to you, it's probably going to be the Braves.
And who's going to be the biggest drop-off?
The biggest drop?
Mm-hmm.
Probably the Nationals.
Fair.
Because I feel like the reason those two moves happen is because I think that the Nationals probably won't drop out of like the top 12, but I don't think that they're a team that's going to defend their World Series as well as we'd like them to.
That's fair. All right, and I'll ask you one last question here. All right, we'll be fair. We'll be fair about this. You know my answer on this question, but I need your answer on this question. Who is the sexiest GM in eMLB?
It's JR.
Thank you.
It's going to always be JR. Everyone else is just clamoring for second.
That's fair. Who is second then?
It's me.
All right, let's just get this man off the hot seat now. All right. All right. Go ahead and you can do whatever here.
All right. Why am I wrong?
What about? Because you're just
About being
wrong
the
all the
second
time.
sexiest GM. Not really. We don't need to do that one. um, oof. Do you think Texas will beat the Angels
No,
out for the division?
no.
Why is that?
I think the Angels are just the more complete team, and I think when it comes down to it, I think that Tom just has a little better OOTP knowledge than Jamie, and that's going to come in handy because at some point when the teams are as evenly matched as the two of them, it comes down to strategy. And Tom showed he could do it in his first year, where Texas really hasn't done it.
Okay. Second, how many home runs will Edgar Barrios hit?
47.
47. All right, ladies and gentlemen, book this one. We're going to come back to it. Lastly, will Fried get hurt again?
What's your definition of hurt? Like a long-term or like a day-to-day thing?
A day-to-day.
Oh, for sure. Everyone gets hurt at some point during the season of a day-to-day thing.
Unless you're Ethan Knight, in which case you spend a whole year healthy.
Thank your lucky stars.
Yeah, I know.
Thank your lucky stars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we got back to like our original format of constant argumentation, and it was fun.
Is argumentation a word?
I made it a word.
That's fair. You're wrong. That's fair.
Who told me I'm not allowed to make words? Words were all invented some way, so.
Yeah, they were, but most of them had some thought behind it.
Oh, it had thought. Maybe not the right type of thought, but it had thought. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to get up more in the action and hear more of Brenden and I's nonsense, you can join the Discord for a lot of fun. Brendan's going to be dropping an article. It might have already dropped by the time this episode goes live. Make sure you check out GM News for that. If you want to check out the live streams as well with the Jimmy Fund, Dana-Farber, cancer research charity streams going on, make sure to check out the link below. We'll put a link to Kamish's Twitter as well as his Twitch down below. And then, as always, you can come and hang out with us. We'd love to talk to you, love to hear your thoughts. If you show up into the Twitch stream and aren't already a subscriber, you could become a subscriber and create your own player that we could potentially be talking about in a future episode.
And you know what? I'm going to take this time to also plug during the Streamathon, Aiden and myself, as well as our two other counterparts over at the Insider Podcast, will be hosting our own new podcast to raise money for the Jimmy Fund. You guys can come hang out with us. You can ask us questions, see how we feel about real sports.
And real sports where we can actually have stuff to go off of.
And most importantly, raise money to kick cancer in the ass.
You know what? Don't char bunny this.
You won't char bunny that.
We are going to kick cancer in the ass here, ladies and gentlemen. The goal is $10,000. As of recording, they're already over 1,300, I believe.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Grumpy old put in like 1,000.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Kamish is committed to at least double of what's so far spent. I don't know how much he's doing. I know JR is throwing some money in. I'm sure Brenden will throw some money in. I'm sure I'm going to throw some money in, even though I'm a broke college kid. There's going to be a lot of money being thrown around for a really good cause. So make sure you come out and support as well. We'd love to see you all there. So I think that pretty much does it. Be sure to be on the lookout. And I'm not sure when Brenden and I will be back, but we will be. We'll talk opening day. We'll talk whatever is being said. And we'll learn more about why Brendan's wrong. So for now, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you all. We'll see y'all.